What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. So I just wanted to give you guys some tips, some tidbits of things that I have picked up along the way as it pertains to spiritual baths. In Lukumi, that would be called ebomisi, or healing waters. So I'm sorry, healing waters is actually Omiero. So, anyways, I digress. It would be Ebomisi and Lukumi, which would be a spiritual bath. So that is a bath that's specifically prepared with the Orisha, with oro or callings done to the Orisha. That is normally prepared for like a specific like spiritual means, etc. So in just everyday witchcraft practice, you can definitely take up spiritual baths as a form of spiritual cleansing and a way to refresh your aura, your ori, the spirit of your inner consciousness, etc. So there are many things depending on where you may be personally in the terms of like your initiations or like who you may be working with or all of that stuff, that it may be appropriate or not appropriate to call a particular deity. So in the elevation of the spiritual bath, if you will. So as many of you may know, I'm a quimbadero. I am a tata in Palo, and I am an Aborisha in Lukumi, so an Orisha devotee or an Orisha practitioner or worshiper. So there are things that are completely appropriate for me to do, that I do as a bull, as spiritual cleansings, that I may also do as an amasi, which is using specifically like the spirits of Kimbanda. And there are spiritual baths that I have made using the Mpungo. So definitely depending on what may be appropriate for you specifically, there are many ways that you can charge the spiritual bath and give it new life and give it new energy. So, and those are some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So to do any type of like spiritual bath, what I would recommend obviously is, a vessel, water, herbs, household items, spiritual items, or paraphernalia that you may have on hand. All of these things can be used to prepare a spiritual bath. But when preparing a spiritual bath, it isn't simply just adding things into water and then like pouring that water over you. It can be that, and in its most simplest form, it can be that, of course. But what I try and go for when I'm preparing a spiritual bath is I'm waiting for the water to change. What I mean by that is like I'm waiting for the water to transmutate or transform from just normal water to water that then holds sacred intention, that then holds power, that then holds the essence of whatever herbs you may have added, whatever power items you may have added, whatever ingredients you may have added. So then it becomes not just a mixture of those things, but a spiritual amalgam of the different ingredients that you've added and the intention that you've added into that. So with spiritual baths, I would say like always try and keep it simple, unless you have a purpose for the amount of items that you are like adding. So, pick a few herbs that are associated with your desire, your intention, be that cleansing, be that fortitude of the mind or spirit, be that elevation of the self, be that opening of the ways. There are many herbs, and I don't question your competencies in the ability to Google for yourself and research for yourself and find things that you have available. Now, with that being said, like, I feel like it goes without saying that research obviously is very key. So, first start by looking at what you may have on hand, what herbs you may have on hand, what ingredients you may have on hand. In one of my earlier videos, I gave a recipe for a spiritual bath to cleanse against negativity. That is just salt and coffee. There are many, many simple things that can be done that you may have on hand that you could prepare a spiritual bath that you can then do for multiple days. And that will add strength to what it is that you're doing that spiritual bath for. So, there can be money drawing baths. There can be cleansing negativity. There can be opening channels of communication between you and the dead. So spiritual baths that are more focused on like mediumship. There are many, many things. That's one of the reasons that I love spiritual baths, is because they are so versatile. Water being a universal element, a conduit for many, many things. So in it, you have a universal application to it that you can really just take and use in many different situations and scenarios, and to achieve many different ends to whatever it is that you may be needing for that. So I'm going to give some examples, and just to kind of highlight what I like personally mean when I say like wait until the water changes. So for instance, today, in its most basic example, I had taken water in a bowl with coffee grinds and sea salt. I had added them together. And before I got in to take my normal shower and do my normal routine, I stirred the water. And as I was stirring the water, I was breathing my breath on it. Breath is very sacred. It carries the essence of the human being. It carries the life-giving energy, or ashe, or however you want to call that, the life-moving principle that permeates all of the seen world and the unseen world. So, I'm very sure that I breathe on my spiritual baths, especially as I am preparing them and to seal them and bring them into life. So that is something that I do. As I'm stirring the water, I'm praying. I am not only asking for whatever it is that I may be petitioning at that moment, but I'm specifically imbuing the waters with words of power, with intention. And so what you're waiting for spiritually is a sense that you have been transformed from a physical place in time and space to a spiritual mentality, to a spiritual state of being. And how long that takes you will kind of depend on you, honestly, and your own development and your own gifts, etc. But that is what you're waiting for, is a physical sense and change in yourself, that your bath has then been transformed. You're looking to see certain messages in the bath itself. How does it make you feel? How does it resonate? Do you feel like it carries the energy of the intention that you're imbuing it with? Those are all things that you need to be looking out for when you're preparing a spiritual bath. If you are specifically, and I say this keeping in mind that like I'm only giving this advice if it is appropriate for you to do this. If you are calling on a specific deity or a specific spirit or a specific guide while preparing your ebomisi or your spiritual bath or your amasi or whatever it is that you may be preparing, but the spiritual bath. So if you're invoking a deity and you're inviting a deity into that situation, what you're going to be looking for is like key changes in yourself, in your physiology, in the way that you're breathing, in the way that you see things, in the way that you are experiencing the moment that you're in that moment. So what you're going to be looking for specifically is, do you feel a genuine connection to that spirit that is not forced, that is not contrived in any manner? So in that moment, you need to be aware that you are calling that spirit, and what you're waiting for specifically is to see if that spirit has answered that call. And you don't stop calling until your call has been answered. So in that sense, you're then waiting for the presence to be made aware to you, that then you are ready to proceed. So if you have a divinatory system that you use, again, that is appropriate for you to be using. So in my case, if I'm preparing a masi, that is the shells of Kimbanda. That's my shells that I speak with my spirits with, where I ask them yes or no questions, where I discern where the amasi or spiritual bath in Kimbanda is at that moment. I have other divination systems that I also use. But it just kind of depends. Like, for instance, today I didn't use any divination system. What I used was the discernment of my own spirit and how I may personally feel in that moment. So that may be something that you have to cultivate, and I implore you to do that, because that is a gift and that is a blessing to you. So always listen to your intuition and always call until you feel like you have an answer, and don't proceed until you feel like your intention has been absorbed into every molecule of that water, and that it has fully integrate all of the ingredients that you are placing in the water. So maybe at some point I will do a tutorial, a very simple tutorial of how I prepare a spiritual bath, or like examples of prayers that I use. So hopefully I will get to that at some point. So I hope that, all of you have found this video to be informative, or enlightening in some capacity, or that it gives light to, the preparation process of what to be looking out for when you're preparing an amasi, or how to discern that the amasi is ready to be used. When working with plants, when working with water, when working with all of these natural elements, in essence, what you're creating is a medicine. And what you're looking for, either through divination or through discernment of spirit, is that the medicine is ready to be utilized or taken. So always think of everything that your hands touch as sacred, everything that you breathe life into as sacred. And all of these small things can be pivotal moments in our everyday waking reality that can shift us into new patterns of perception, and just deeper alignments with our destiny and our true self and our higher self. So with all of that being said, many, many blessings to you wherever it is that you may be finding this message, with whatever blessings or obstacles you may be facing. May there always be a light upon your feet. May there always be a light unto your eyes. May the veil always be lifted to you, and may you always find a solution. So with all of that being said, again, my name is James. Thank you for taking the time to hear me and listen to this message. And take care of yourself.